Hi, and thank you so much for buying this Smart Invoice Tracker. I'm going to quickly walk you through how this file works from start to finish so you can see the full flow before you dive in. Once you've done it once, it really does run itself. Before we begin, a quick note. If you see a macros blocked error when opening this file, you'll need to move the file out of your Downloads folder first. Then right-click the file, go to Properties, and at the bottom make sure macros are allowed. Once that's done, reopen the file and everything will work as expected. You'll find 5 sheets in this file. The first sheet is the instructions page. This takes you through how to use the file, how to set it up, how to customize your invoice, and explains the overall workflow along with some helpful tips for working with the file. Next is the invoice sheet. This is where you'll create your invoices. Then you have the invoice tracker, which is where all your invoices are logged and tracked. Finally, you have your setup pages, customers, and products. Let's start with setup. Before creating your first real invoice, you'll want to add your customers. On the customers sheet, add your client names, email addresses, phone numbers, and any notes you want to keep. On the products sheet, add the services or items you sell, along with prices and item codes. You only need to do this once. Everything else in the invoice pulls from these lists automatically. If you add customers or products later, just keep adding to the list, and they'll continue to pull through. Now let's move to the invoice sheet. At the top, add your company details and logo. To change the logo, right-click on the image, choose Change Picture, select your image and resize it as needed. At the bottom, update your payment options and terms so they match your business. You can also add a QR payment option if you use one, or delete it if you don't. Once your customers are added, select Customer from the drop-down. When you do this, the invoice number will automatically populate based on the next invoice in the tracker. For example, if you've already tracked 8 invoices, the next one will be invoice 009. Add your invoice date by double-clicking in the cell and choosing a date, then enter a job or reference type. The payment due date will automatically populate based on your payment terms. You can set these however you like, for example 5 days or 2 weeks, and the due date will update automatically. Next, move down to the line items, add your descriptions, items and quantities. As you enter these, you'll see the totals calculate automatically. At the bottom, you can add tax and discount amounts. If you don't want your client to see the discount, you can simply hide it. Once everything looks right, you'll move on to the workflow steps. The first step is to track the invoice. Click Track Invoice to log it into the invoice tracker. If any required information is missing, such as the customer or total price, the invoice won't submit, so make sure everything is filled in first. Once tracked, you'll see the invoice appear in the invoice tracker sheet. Here, you can track payment status, payment dates, and whether an invoice was paid, declined, or is still pending. Due dates are color-coded. Orange means the invoice is due soon. Red means it's overdue and unpaid. Paid or lost invoices remain uncolored. The summary chart at the top updates automatically, so you can see totals by payment and invoice status at a glance. The next step is Save as PDF. Clicking this button creates a PDF of the current invoice and automatically names it based on the client and invoice number. You can save this anywhere you like, ready to email or print. The final step is Save and Create New. This saves a backup copy of the current invoice and clears the form, so you're ready to create the next one. This file is your master copy, so you'll keep using it every time. If you ever need to view or amend a past invoice, you'll have a saved backup available. If you want to change fonts or colours, you're free to customize the design. To do this, unprotect the invoice and invoice tracker sheets. Go to the Review tab and click Unprotect Sheet. There's no password required. Once unprotected, you can go to Page Layout and choose new colours or themes and adjust fonts or font colours as needed. Before you go, a few important tips. Always use Save and Create New to keep your master file clean. Try not to rename or move sheets, as the automation relies on those names. Avoid changing table headers, as that can break formulas. If something doesn't work, it's usually because macros are disabled, and if anything feels confusing at any point, please reach out. I'm always happy to help. Enjoy having everything tracked and organised in one place, and thank you again for your purchase.